All right, let me get a quick sip of coffee here. We'll get started for this morning's live stream. Welcome. If you are new here, welcome again. All right, so as some of you know, in the past, I like to start the shows with just a very quick joke. I bought a new treadmill. I am so proud of myself. Yesterday, I spent over an hour on the treadmill. An hour. And tomorrow, I will turn it on. Oh, you have to laugh in today's world, right? All right, so for this one, it'll be a quick one. A poll, will you drop Ubuntu because of Wayland? And we'll get to that here in a moment. Another sip of coffee here. All right, just a couple of news items before we go into that topic. GNOME plans new donation reminder pop-up in the upcoming release, which I believe will be GNOME 49. So there will be a donate button notification if you wish to support the progress. I use that term loosely, personally. But if you want to support the GNOME Foundation, you will have an option to. And if you like it, you should. All right. Next bit of news. One of my favorites, Linux Mint. Two favorites, actually. Linux Mint and Chromebooks. Linux Mint 22.20 beta has been released. I am actually doing this live stream with Linux Mint Mate, my current favorite desktop environment, right up there with the Chrome OS and Chromebooks. You know, if the late great Bruce Lee was alive today, he would praise the Chromebook for its speed and efficiency. It just works. Yeah, just simple. All right, well, let's get into the topic here of Wayland. Ubuntu is dropping X11 support for its main desktop environment, GNOME, in the 25.10 release, which will be called Questing Quokka, I believe, opting for a Wayland-only session. Now, Wayland has never worked for me, and it still doesn't work, right? This means the default Ubuntu desktop will no longer support running GNOME on the X11 display driver server. However, X11 support via Xwayland will be maintained for compatibility with older X11 applications. Good luck with that. Other Ubuntu flavors such as Ubuntu, Lubuntu supposedly will not be affected. But in the Linux world, yeah, everything goes. There is no standard in the Linux world unless you are buying a Chromebook. Unpredictability in the Linux desktop environment is predictable. That is the norm for all this. And the last time I used Ubuntu full-time was probably in 2016 when Ubuntu made a decision to drop Unity and go for GNOME. I was like, oh no, no. But they made that decision, and over the years, I have not been able to use Ubuntu the way I would use, say, Linux Mint or other Linux-based systems. Well, because it was never right. I had to use the terminal, extensions would break, and it was just a major pain in the kernels. However, lately, starting late last year, I was able to tweak Ubuntu with terminal commands to my liking. Now, this is something I would never recommend for Windows users. That's why Ubuntu is no longer for Linux newbies. Too much has changed. But I was able to tweak Ubuntu to where I could possibly use it on a regular basis. Just when I got that running, they decide to drop X11 for Wayland, which is not for me, to say the least. Now, I get it. X11 has been around, I think, almost 40 years, right? But Wayland has been around almost 20 years. Really? We're going to go for something that's old but works to something that's not as old but doesn't quite work. Yeah, it's kind of frustrating for me as a Windows user who has tried to switch to Linux full time, but it's such a mess. And the only machines that have come close to replacing Windows completely for me are Linux Mint and a Chromebook. Chromebooks are great. Affordable Linux, 10 years of support. Some of the apps I need are not yet available in a Chromebook. I don't do gaming, so gaming in a Chromebook, don't really care for that. But it's kind of been disappointing. Linux as a whole has been kind of disappointing. Now, specific Linux, like what I use, Linux Mint, I like MX Linux for my older ThinkPads, and of course Chromebooks. That has been superb. An enjoyable experience for running Linux. But when Ubuntu decided to drop X11 support, this may be the end of the road of Ubuntu for me after almost 20 years. Maybe. We'll see. I suppose I could always go back to the previous LTS for Ubuntu, which will not be affected by this announcement. And that's supported through 2029, so I could always do that and tweak it. But then why should I? I'm running Linux Mint now, and there is no tweaking. There is no terminal commands to make adjustments. It just works, and that's what Linux really should be all about, at least for Windows users who don't have the time to tinker. You know, maybe you're a nurse, a firefighter, a policeman. I don't know. And you don't have time for all this nonsense. I don't blame you. You just want things to work. So, there you have it. My poll, will you drop Ubuntu because of Wayland only in the next release of Ubuntu 25.10? I may completely. I haven't decided yet. I'm currently running the current version of Ubuntu on my test machine, and it's okay, I believe, through the end of the year. After that, I'm not sure. But from what I understand, not everybody is happy with Wayland only. And Linux should be about choices, but when you take away choices, then doesn't that go against the philosophy of Linux? It's just a personal thought here, but let me know what you guys think about all this. All right, let me take a quick gander here in the chat. All right, nobody here for this morning. So, sorry I missed you guys. I still don't know when to do these live shows. I've tried the weekends. I tried to schedule morning and night. It seems like sometimes on the weekends, late night, that seems to work sometimes. But yeah, in this post-pandemic world, a lot has changed, and it's not what it used to be. But hey, I'm still here, still making these videos. Hopefully, some Windows user, all billion of you, some billion Windows users may find these videos useful. I hope. Someone complained that these are too long. Yeah, maybe they are. The live shows are too long when I'm doing this solo. I don't mind chatting. Anyway, that's all I have for this one. If you would like to sponsor a live show, let me know. If you have any topics you want me to cover related to the world of Ubuntu or Linux, let me know. And I'm going to finish my coffee, start my day, enjoy my dad's music, and I'll catch you on the next one. Arrivederci.